I'll go to the next point, which is a related point about financial inclusion. I mean, I know we have some of us here from the banks and financial institutions. Giving banking facility is a requirement. Do we have any CIOs from banking and financial services here today? Okay, we have a few, great. So, and for them, this is no news, and I'm sure they are quite clued into this. But essentially, it's all about being able to reach the banking services to each and every individual. And see how it ties up with the NRDS. When somebody actually reports work under the scheme, the money for the work so far used to go by cash, and there's a lot of filterage and everything. Now it goes directly on the smart card. And the business correspondence, which is, I'm sure you'll be aware of the RBI law related to that, will actually make sure that the money comes in their hand without any filtrage. It's a big, huge thing. People don't know the extent to which the technology going to the schemes like financial inclusion is making a difference in those lives. But they're all related, but the benefits reach the commonest of the man, and all the stakeholders benefit. The banks, I'm sure, are going to get a large amount of customers. Government is going to get the benefit to the citizens, and the mission of RBI is to make sure that the banking, spreads in the country. And of course, the common man, has a number of things to thank for. I'll also talk about education. Now, this is huge. We talk about what it takes, and we all know about the National Education Mission and what Santa Clara and his team is doing. There's a huge role that ICT is playing in this, and we are happy to be a part of some of these activities, wherein the entire management of schools and curricula, as well as the content, is being driven, and we've created very, very innovative business models that help students all over India to be able to access most efficiently the services of education. We see not just what we do in the south of Bombay or BKC, air-conditioned rooms, helping CIOs succeed in managing their infrastructure, managing their projects, managing their initiatives as the key deliverable that we as Lodai provide. But also, all the things that we have just talked about, and the fact that so many social schemes that we think ICT is going to provide a big enablement and acceleration. I just wanted to leave this thought with such an august community that you guys are, in understanding the kind of things we are trying to do, and help us with innovative ideas and inputs that a community like the CIO Club can provide to make information technology more meaningful, not just in the boardrooms of our corporations, but also in the hinterland of India. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Vishwas for the lovely presentation and those wonderful audio visuals. I now would like to invite Mr. Pinaki Mishra, partner Ernst & Young, for an executive summary on the Enterprise IT Investment Trend 2010.
Good evening, everyone. I will briefly take you through about 10-15 minutes summary of what we found in the report. A little bit background of this survey objective, I think, is very clear. We wanted to understand where the investments are going, and what we did this year is also present the perspective vis-a-vis last year, because last year was the so-called downturn year, and obviously there was a lot of crunch from an investment perspective to see how we are doing this year over last year. In terms of participation, the participation was about 126 completed responses, which was fairly large, a fairly good sample to look at this kind of survey. So if you look at some of the top priorities this year, 2010-11, I'm saying what's very significant and what's very different from last year is the fact that process and performance improvement has come in as number one this year. And this was absolutely absent last year. Last year, I think the main issue was IT cost reduction. So that's a very clear signal that businesses are wanting IT to participate more in the improvement agenda, willing to invest money in those kind of projects rather than just looking at cost as an element. And if you look at the overall survey results, again, what transpires is, unlike last year where probably every particular industry segment was looking at a cutback, this year barring a couple of service-related industries, most industries are actually looking at a positive investment from an IT perspective. And some sectors like chemicals, consumer goods actually are even looking at more than 10, 15%, 20% kind of growth in the IT business. So it's an overall a very, very positive atmosphere. It also means a lot of rolling for the CIO. If you really look behind this point, what it means today is you will have more CIOs participating in a lot of improvement projects, and that has been our experience as well from Ernst & Young. We see more and more CIOs being actively roped into board level projects saying that look, we can't do business improvement without having IT going hand in hand. I think this is clearly a reason why we see this as an improvement. I think as far as information security is concerned, we are moving to a very different and a difficult area related to security. We see a lot of incidents which are happening, which are impacting businesses, which are impacting nations actually, not just business alone. And as a result of which, information security will retain a very key priority for CIOs. BCP DR, like last year, again retains in the top 5 priorities of the CIO. And I think what again critical is going from the base level to more consumer-centric, more customer-centric kind of projects. So if you look at the overall scheme of things, two significant things have happened. One is the focus on cost from number 1 and move to number 5. Which means that companies are looking at more favorable towards future investment, and improvement in process becomes the top priority. So as a group, I think it's extremely good news, the fact that companies are willing to invest, the fact that they are willing to give different kind of projects, and not just, can we reduce hardware cost by 10%, can we reduce IT cost by 15%, I think that's not the agenda. The agenda is there a project that can help me improve my business? And if that project exists, then here is the funding. I think that's the message that we clearly see. In terms of IT as a percentage of revenue, I think it largely remains 1 to 3%, quite similar to what we found last year. So it's not that there's been a huge increase, but if you see the growth of the industry as a whole, if you're talking of growth in average of 10 to 20%, and then obviously your IT budgets are also up by that kind of percentage. So overall, as I said, things are positive. Companies are looking at IT as a differential strategy rather than looking at a means of maintaining. The other critical and important finding that we see this year is that I think if you look at earlier, the issue was primarily CIOs managing the operation, but here is this year we clearly see the focus on how do I improve. So instead of just making businesses usually, how can I participate in improving my business? In terms of one of the priorities, which was IT consolidation, which we thought which came out as a top 5 priority last year, it has moved out. And probably, as I say, as we move towards improvement, as we move towards growth, obviously consolidation takes a little bit of a backseat. So that's really the change that we see over last year. In terms of emerging technologies, cloud computing is one technology which everybody is talking about. 58% is a fairly significant. So is green computing. And if you look at from if you look at the business side, again, green as a part of the overall business strategy will become far more important in the future. A lot of companies that we speak about, especially from a business perspective, are looking at how do they embrace green technologies, and how do they ensure that these kind of technologies become a part of the strategy. And we foresee IT playing a very key role in making, in participating in this kind of events. That's going to be significant emerging technology in the future. Cloud computing and virtualization, obviously. While we don't see much of cloud computing probably actually on ground in corporates, but virtualization has taken on, a lot of companies we have seen adopting virtualization. The other critical emerging technology is data loss prevention. So I think while we looked at security at a broad level, I think very focused on how do we prevent loss of data. I think as companies are growing, Indian companies are becoming fairly globally scaled, the economy is becoming globally scaled, and I think we all know the Google incident in China. So a lot of these things, make sure that we focus a lot on how do we protect our internal data, confidential data and company data. So these are some of the emerging technologies that we see in terms of what CEOs have spoken about.